Welcome to the Fall River Conservation Commission meeting, public meeting being held Monday, January 9th, 2023 at 5:30 in the first floor meeting room, One Government Center, Fall River. Consider the following petition is listed in this notice. Pursuant to the open meeting laws, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. And teams are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Can we start with roll call? We'll start at
Chris Boyle here.
Louis Ferrer.
John Brandt.
Jim Cusick.
Paul Amaral.
James Winsby.
And we also have tonight Nina Pavo back, Conservation Recording Agent, Dan Aguirre, Conservation Agent, and from FRGTV, Gary Lees. First on the agenda tonight is a request for a certificate of compliance for SE-24-769. Owner applicant is Highland Farms Development 2 LLC. Project location is 30 Brookfield Terrace. Assessors map is U-04-0063. Filed by Highland Farms Development 2 LLC. Applicant requesting certificate of compliance at the time of inspection. All work regulated by order conditions have been satisfactorily completed. This is continued hearing from December 5th, 2022. Our last action, we sent out a letter to the applicant.
Commissioner, members, what I can offer is, I did speak with the owner of the property today. She has been in contact with the original design engineer multiple times about putting together this notice of intent. This is the one for put the pool in without a permit. So she's just been waiting for him to finish the work that he was supposed to be doing. I did explain to her that she's the one that has to push this to get this done, because what the next step would be an enforcement action, which would be the next step that you could take. She did tell me that she has been calling there daily. I know the consulting firm and I know how backed up they are. And I said, well, you need to hire someone else, and you need to hire someone else. So she understands that completely. And again, whatever I recommend in any of these agent reports, I do not vote. So by all means, you have the authority to make any motion and vote any way that you find. So you have two options today. One is to either table the matter until she files the notice of intent, or two, you could require or file an enforcement action and take it to the next step. So that's where you're at with what you can do tonight on this one.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Was, did she reach out to you, or did you have to reach out to her?
Well, originally when I sent her the letter, she reached out to me. I did speak with her. I put her in contact with the original engineer that did the work, because they had already all of the information. So they just have not followed through with doing this little bit of work that this woman needs. I reached out to her today as a check-in, knowing that the meeting was coming, to say, hey, give me an update like I did on all of them, of where you're at. She did call me back, and that's what she explained, is that she had called in multiple times. It actually has a proposal. She signed it, sent it back, so she's just waiting for the work to be done. So if you want to move on the sense of urgency and send an enforcement action, I have no issue with that.
I'd make a motion to do that.
Motion to send.
Yeah, because, I mean, this has been on the agenda for a long time, and if she's already in contact with the person responsible for making sure that this is done the right way, like Dan is saying, then, until the next meeting, I think that's plenty of time to at least get something that we're gonna be happy with.
Right. I have a motion.
Well, my question would be, the additional impervious surface, was that part of the as-built plan? Do you know? I know it's a tough question.
I can't hear you, Chris.
Okay, sorry, Jim. So there was additional impervious surface, a stone patio, stone walkway. I don't know if it was in the as-built, but there was no permit for it, as far as I know.
The patio area and the pool area absolutely were not permitted activities under the original order of conditions, which all of her work is probably within the limit of work of what was approved, but those actual items of impervious area and the pool were not. So those do need to get permitted.
And she was she's into the BVW. part of that
We
work.
don't know until the new plan gets
Okay.
submitted. Upon going out to look at it, she's pretty close. She's either right at it or potentially in it, but you don't know that until you get an engineer drawing that gets submitted.
Like I said, that's my opinion, if you guys think that we should.
No, it's been on the agenda
table
for
it.
quite some
That's my
time,
whole
and
thing,
I
Chris.
agree with
It's
you.
It's been on the agenda quite some time, and I think by doing this, it's gonna show her that we're serious about it, give her another, at least some time until the next meeting for Dan to get some updates, something that he's happy with, and then we could take it from there. What are we gonna do? We're gonna keep tabling this?
I mean, the first letter was sent out back in July.
I don't remember how early it
Yeah,
was.
it's been on the
It
agenda
was
for a
long.
while.
It was
So,
long time.
I
Been a
mean,
few months.
I understand she's having trouble, but it's been so long, and I
Right.
just don't, I agree.
And like I said, I mean, that's my personal opinion. If you guys wanna table it, then.
I make a motion, we send it to the lawyer.
Second, okay. Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye. Okay. We'll issue an enforcement order on that one. Next one is request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-739. Owner applicant is CML2 LLC. Project location is 507 Alden Street. Assessor's map is J-21-001 and 0005. Applicant requesting certificate of compliance, stating all work regulated by the order conditions have been satisfactorily completed. This was continued from our hearing on December 5th, 2022. We sent out a letter, which we did get a response back.
We did, well, and there's actually, the owner's engineer is here this evening, but the status of this was at about, I don't know, maybe 4 o'clock today. We did receive an updated as-built and cover letter. I have not had a chance to thoroughly review it. From what I did see, still don't think that it's done in accordance with the approved plan. But until I've had a chance to review that and report those findings to you, so you fully understand the difference. They weren't even in your packets today. I think Nina did forward the email. But again, an hour before the meeting isn't
Right.
sufficient time for you to review it either, so I would recommend that you table the matter, but if Al wanted to speak at
Did
all.
you want to come before us?
No, this is Alden Street, they're just trying to get a
That's-
certificate of compliance.
Plus
Jeff
Jeff's
Kuchar?
handling that.
Okay.
Okay.
Someone else.
All right, so can I have a motion to table to?
Move to table.
February 6th.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-764. Owner applicants Highland Farms Development, 2 LLC. Project location 221 Philstone Lane. Assessor's map is U-04-0058. Applicant requesting a certificate of compliance, stating all work has been regulated by order conditions. This is continued from December 5th meeting, and action, we sent out an enforcement order.
Correct, so we did send out an enforcement action, we're waiting on the filing of a new notice of intent. So really, for the short term, there's nothing that you can do about the matter.
Okay. Can I have a motion to table this till February 6th?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Yes.
All right. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-765. Owner applicant is Highland Farms Development, 2 LLC. Project location 245 Philstone Lane. Assessor's map is U-04-0059. Applicant requesting a certificate of compliance, stating all work regulated by order conditions was satisfactorily completed. This was continued from December 5th, 2022 meeting too.
So again, on this, they were waiting, keep driving out there to look at this, so about 3/4 of the lot has been loamed and seeded. There's one portion that for some reason still has not been completed, so it's going to end up sitting, until they get that resolved.
No, like.
But there's nothing,
Spring at this point.
there's nothing on this one. Well, I don't even care if the grass is grown, but they should at least put down loam seed and some hay or something to
Yeah.
at least acknowledge what was,
Get it done.
because we hadn't even sent a letter on this one because the work was so minor.
Yeah.
In all practicality, that won't happen anytime soon, as far as the
Probably
remaining
not.
portion.
Well, what ended up happening, and I think I explained this to you before, what Bill Kenny did before he left, in their site plan review approvals, which is through the planning department, he made a condition of approval that before any sign-off for occupancy was to take place, that they needed to file for a certificate of compliance. Didn't say they needed to get one, said they needed to file for one. So they don't need to have a certificate of compliance normally to get an occupancy permit and live in the house. The order of conditions is still valid for a certain period of time. The homeowner, for instance, could be taking on the responsibility of doing the loaming and seeding. So all of these are being filed to meet a condition of approval that Bill put in the site plan reviews.
Yeah.
So that's why you're getting, they have to file these in order for somebody to go live in the house. They don't have to get one. So all they're doing is meeting the requirement of the condition that Bill set. So that's why these are sitting. Normally, you wouldn't be seeing these yet.
Yeah.
But as you know, on the first subdivision, they waited and filed them all at the very end, and they didn't. So he wanted to make sure that that didn't happen. I think he kind of missed one step. The condition may have said receipt of a certificate of compliance, but that's not what it said. It said filing for a certificate of compliance.
Well, I think it's good that we are able to know exactly what's going on.
It is, but like, you know, it will get repetitive until
Right.
the homeowner or Bristol Pacific finally, you know, finishes the project. But they all still have valid orders to complete this work.
So can we have a motion to table to February 6th?
Motion. Second.
Second. Roll call?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. Next is request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-767 Highland Farms Development 2 LLC, project location 294 Philstone Lane. Assessors map is U-04-0061. Applicant requesting a certificate of compliance stating all work regulated by order conditions has been satisfactorily completed. And this was continued from December 5th meeting. Last action was sent out a letter.
So this was one of the later ones. This one hasn't been sitting that long. This one has a violation. So in our normal course of how we proceed with these, a letter did go out, received no comment.
Should we use the mic?
The microphone doesn't come through speakers here. This is only for TV, but I can speak into the mic.
Oh, all right, then could you speak a little louder?
I'll try to speak a little
This one
louder. I thought
I'm
I spoke.
interested in, this one is, I think it's got some issues.
So, I recommend that we do file an enforcement action for this one now, because we got no response from the filing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a motion to send out a letter of enforcement.
Okay, roll call vote?
What, could I ask what we're enforcing?
They've altered a wetland beyond what was permitted for their single-family house.
Wait a minute, this is not the mill?
No.
No.
This is in Highland Farms subdivision.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just. got
This is
the-
number 5.
Yeah, okay.
Under old
Numbers
business.
are similar, and I got it wrong, okay.
Okay?
Yep, thank you, that's
Yeah.
part.
And then, just so we're clear, you haven't received anything from the homeowner at this
Nothing,
point?
nothing in response to the
Okay.
original letter, no.
Thank you.
I've heard grumblings,
Well,
because what
grumblings is
happens
one
is
thing,
people,
direct
people
contact
will
is another.
call, and they'll call different people in City Hall, you know, we understand you sent a letter to this guy, or, you know, asking for some forgiveness, and,
Right.
you know, it is what it is. you know.
Exactly.
This is a substantial alteration.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
So you give them an opportunity to file within 30 days, which is what the letter said,
Mhm.
no response at all, so the next course of action would be the enforcement action.
So Paul made the motion, Chris seconded, roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Alright. Next, discussion on Bell Rock Road, wetlands violation, this is continued from December 5th meeting.
So as discussed, you know, they did appear at the December meeting and recommended, or at least explained to you what they were doing, how they were going to proceed, and that they would be filing to be heard at the February meeting. You all agreed to that.
And have you heard anything back from the testing?
I know they're working on it, yeah. Same engineer hasn't responded to item number 1, so. This is a bigger fish, so.
Yes.
I'm hoping to get some attention.
So, make a motion to table this till February 6th meeting,
Motion. Table.
Second?
roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Okay. discussion on bylaws. This has been continued from December 5th meeting. I didn't bring anything that I wanted to present. Chris, did you get a chance to go through things on this yet, or?
I have, I've gone through quite a bit of it. I just, I don't know how you wanted to get it from me. Do you want me to email it to you? I've carved out certain things that I think are achievable for this commission.
Can we send
What
things?
I would say is send everything to me,
Right, okay.
Okay.
and then I can compile, just so that you're all not dealing with each other
Right,
outside.
yeah. Okay.
Send everything to me, I can compile a pile of stuff,
Okay.
send it out for everybody for review, and then maybe at that point we discuss that.
All right.
But
So, how
send
about
everything in writing to me first.
Okay.
Anything this month will forward to.
I would
Dan.
like to discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, but before it gets totally formulated.
Nothing's getting formulated, you're just gonna send ideas.
We're sending
And
ideas
we're gonna
right
have,
now.
we're gonna have one central pile of ideas,
Okay, and you
that you
guys
can all
did
review
send-
everyone else's ideas.
Okay, well, will send some ideas, because I did send the Watertown report,
Mhm.
Watertown bylaws.
Yeah.
And I've gone over them, and I see some areas that are very helpful to us, and also some areas we don't wanna quite get into.
Sure.
So,
And I think some of the areas of improvement are basically procedural with filing deadlines and things like
Yeah.
that. Not,
Right.
not the day of a meeting, they're
Yes.
giving us time so that we can, you know, so that we can review the materials and things like that. So there's some real basic stuff, and Dan said low hanging
Yeah.
fruit, and I think it's achievable, and I think it's doable, and I think it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with some of the urban areas and suburban areas, I think there's some commonality in those types of things to make the commission's work a little easier, make Dan's job a little bit easier, and give us some time to be able to review exactly what they're looking for, so.
It gives us a little more protection, plus this last minute filing is.
Oh, yeah.
It does us
Right,
good.
and
We don't
we're,
get a chance to
Like,
review
like
it.
Chris is saying, I think that's something that's achievable, and we can remove that.
It's what's
from
fair.
our-
Fee structures are
Right.
very low.
Because, I mean, look, today, it's been, you know, it happens all the time, 4 o'clock on the day of the meeting. I mean, Dan doesn't have enough time, he's busy as it is.
Okay.
I was just gonna bring up, I mean, this is gonna be lengthy going over the bylaws. Would you think of a special meeting, just bylaws?
I would agree with that.
That's fine.
We could do that, yeah.
That way, we don't have to worry about,
Like when I was telling you, when we started the Community Preservation Committee, we
Yeah.
had no bylaws, no nothing. It took us a year to get the bylaws done, so
Yeah.
it's not an easy
No, it's
task.
not.
Because we're trying to get 5 people to do the right thing, so it is, we'll get everything next month and we'll look it over, and then if we have to, we'll do another meeting.
Special meeting just for the bylaws?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I think we should make sure that Dan has a list of things that we send him, and then he
Right.
can narrow it down, so that way we have something that we can talk about, not just come here and waste time. But I
Right.
mean, I would support
Yeah.
just a meeting just for that,
Yeah.
instead of having it on the agenda where we don't have enough time.
Right,
We'll
and I
get
think we need to
everything-
phase things into, I
Yeah.
think that there's, I think we need to look at this in certain steps, okay? Because, phase one.
Yeah.
And then down the road, what does phase two look like, what does phase three look like, so we can implement this over time. I think that's,
Which could require probably more than one special meeting,
Correct.
and I'm okay with that, if
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing to do.
That's fine, yeah.
I think it should be the focus of a meeting, I agree.
That's right.
I agree.
So we'll forward everything this next month, and then we'll come up with a date for our special meeting.
you know, I don't wanna disagree all the time, but it seems to me, I think, I agree with you that if we get it done by next January, very good. You know, this is not an easy task.
No.
And we don't wanna have too many split votes either. I think a special meeting, if we can get into it in depth, is a great idea. Then I think we may end up taking, I've been through this in another organization, then taking perhaps a particular issue that, and spending 15 minutes on it at a regular meeting and keeping going on it, because it's not something you wanna just let go and then have another special meeting in 5 months.
No, we'll always keep it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
I mean, that's
till we
just
get it
my
squared away.
experience, is that you need to add to it, Because once two or three, and if there are 2 or 3 sticky issues, they'll need to be discussed a couple of times.
Yeah.
Well, any policy needs to be reviewed over time. So, yeah.
So we're all set for a special meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, on to new business. First NOI SE -24-811, owner applicant is Tyler Langors, / King Phillips Loft LLC, project location 386 Gilburn Street. Assessors map is B-17-001, filed by SciTech, engineering and environmental consultant, of King Phillips Loft LLC, the applicant recreational mill building into apartments, associated site work including parking, grading, drainage, utilities, landscaping, and related site improvements. Portion of this site work are located within the 100-foot
Not with me.
buffer zone.
Was it advertised?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I've got the emails.
All right, no, but you're gonna get a copy of this?
Yes.
We're just gonna table the matter anyway, so.
Whenever.
You all set, John?
All
Presentation?
set? Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. Usually Dan leads off with an
Well, I can if
introduction,
you want me to
so.
give an introduction, that's fine.
No.
So, as the chairman stated, this is a project for the redevelopment of what was left of the King Philip Mill down on Kilburn Street. So we received a notice of intent with drainage calculations. Subsequently, we also received a site plan review for the same project. We completed our initial review and sent out our comments to the consultant the end of last week with what our concerns were. They were somewhat lengthy, but not insurmountable by any means, probably what you would assume would be the case on a project like this. Some of them are drawing related, calculation related, and some dotting of i's and crossing some t's, so nothing insurmountable by any means. As you've seen in my initial report, I would expect that we would be receiving revised plans. We can review those in-house and try and clean up all of these items so that we could have a clean bill of health by the time we get back to you the next time, hopefully. But we did expect that the applicant would want to come and at least give you initial presentation of what they're proposing so you can formulate some ideas and of course ask anything that you have to be added additionally to what my review was.
All right. Al Trachemus with SciTech Engineering here for King Philip Lofts, the applicant this evening. The project is on Kilburn Street. The resource area that it borders is Cook Pond. If we could go to the next slide.
You want to go right to the presentation plan?
No, we'll go with this one right now. I'm gonna assume everyone's familiar with the area, how half the mill has been taken down. My client bought this parcel from Mr. Kafori, and they are redeveloping the existing mill structure that is still there on the site. If we go to the next one, and let's go back to site plan, number 2. Okay. Could have sworn we had a colored one.
There is
but it-
presentation plan at the very end, that's what I asked if you wanted down.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
didn't even see it.
Very, all the way down the end, up top. Yep, there you go.
This will give the overall presentation a lot easier. We will abut Mr. Kafori's subdivision, which is just along the northerly portion of the property. Our access will be from Kilburn Street. We'll have 2 driveways, one on either end of the building. We'll have a driveway leading around back. And then in the rear left-hand side, as we look at this drawing, once Princeton Circle has been constructed, there'll be a connecting driveway to Princeton Circle as well. This project has already received a variance and a special permit, and what we're in front of you for obviously is for the notice of intent. The project has 100 units, 193 bedrooms, and also 131 parking spaces. We could get into the utility plan, but I'll just, yes, if we could go to number 5. What we've done, it's kind of mundane to look at it at this scale, but what we have is we have designed an underground stormwater system consisting of,
Could you speak a little louder? I couldn't,
Sure.
I'm not getting all of it.
okay. What we've done is
Thank you.
we've designed an underground stormwater collection system consisting of catch basins, drain manholes, and we also have stormwater treatment units to address the total suspended solid, the 80% total suspended solids removal. Same, our utilities will come off of Kilburn Street for water, for the fire service, and also electric, where we'll have a transformer in the front left-hand portion, corner of the property. All in all, it's a typical site plan design, and we have received, as Dan mentioned, we've received a number of comments that were combined between, I assume, I understand, Dan and Community Utilities.
That's correct.
And I was out of the office on Friday, so I just saw this today. So what we'd be asking for tonight would be to continue this meeting. It would give us time to meet with Dan and Community Utilities to iron out some of these questions, or all of these questions, is what the goal would be. There are some that are, as Dan mentioned, that are pretty straightforward. There are some others that will require discussion. However, this evening, if the board has any additional questions, I would prefer to hear them now so we could be prepared for, hopefully, I believe, the February 6th meeting.
If I can add, gentlemen, before you give comment, so this project is being filed as a redevelopment project, which means you don't need to meet all of the requirements of the stormwater management guidelines that DEP puts out. You're supposed to do as good a job as you can to the extent feasible. That's a moving line, maximum extent practical, you know. So we have asked that they take a different look at this, or a harder look, and see if they could make some other improvements. So we're gonna work through those drainage kinds of components, and I'm sure we'll get there.
That was a concern I
without
had,
issue.
because I'm looking at, they're diverting, you know, what used to go to Kilburn Street is now no longer going to Kilburn Street. So, you know, I wanted to be sure we had the capacity to, you know, meet the 80% TSS threshold, and, you know, but the water quality in Crook Pond has improved dramatically over the last 30 or 40 years. And I just wouldn't want to see anything change. Is this project going to increase or decrease impervious surface out there?
Decrease by
Decrease.
5,000 square feet.
Okay.
And that's one of the questions in the review, was provide existing cover
Mhm.
and proposed cover, so that way you can look at, drainage isn't, I've told you before, isn't that complex. When you have a site that has this much cover and you're reducing it, technically, you should be fairly easily be able to meet the requirements. What you want to make sure here is that the water quality issue is being addressed, and like Chris stated, and this is really a community utilities concern too, is that, you know, a good portion of this site does run towards Kilburn Street now. So the drainage is now being entirely diverted away from that, which community utilities likes, because you're not overtaxing their
It's
drainage
CSOs,
system,
yeah.
but they're greatly increasing the amount of water volume-wise and peak runoff-wise of what goes to the pond. So those are the things that we'll discuss, and we'll have a healthy,
Yeah, I mean, the biannual, twice a year sweeping of the lots and things like that, that's okay for sand and salt that gets put down, but what about oil and different discharges from vehicles and things like that could end up in the pond? That's my concern as I look at this, so. Because by the plan, there are a number of parking spaces and things like that. So I get the twice a year sweeping and cleaning of the parking lot, and hopefully that is consistent, but I'm looking for, like, you know, discharge VOCs, things like that from vehicles.
Right.
I think
how do we handle
you'll
that?
find by the time, there is a lengthy stormwater management, operation
If
plan
you're
in here.
confident that this
Well,
is-
I'm not yet, we're working towards that. So
No, that by the
my
time
hope
it's
is by
done-
the time we come back to you.
Right.
That we'll be able to provide, a clean bill of health. Something to note is, if you remember back at the existing conditions drawing, there are a number of buildings and sections of this building that are being taken away.
Yeah.
So this is a site that you might want to go take a look at. And if you do want to take a look at it, let me know. It is gated off, but I'm sure we can gain access to it. So I'd like you to have a good understanding of what is the existing condition and what's happening there now. You probably don't want to know, but when you're comparing it to what's being proposed,
No,
it's
I-
probably good that you do see
I
that.
think it's a good use of the property, and I am aware with some of the things that were going on out there, so.
Yep.
Just want to be sure it's done
Yep.
correctly.
Right.
And some of those impervious surfaces are actually gonna get reduced now that we
Yes,
have this
correct.
going,
Yeah,
which is a
like
major thing.
5,000
Because like Chris was saying, I drive by there all the time, and the water at Cook Pond is a lot better even than a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and we wanna make sure we see it that way.
Yep.
So,
That whole area is improving,
yeah, and the fact that you're saving one of the mills, to me, that's a benefit as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, when Mr. Kafori bought this land, he actually, I don't know if he promised the city, but there was some talk that there would be public access to the pond. Is that still something that, do you know if it's gonna happen, or?
The question is it gonna happen on Mr. Kafori's piece, or, because he still owns the subdivision?
But that's all gonna be all single homes that he's building now, from what I understand, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but there was talk of public access or public easement. Have you haven't?
No,
So,
that'll be a
I can
discussion.
back up a little bit. So one of the items that I requested was that they provide a walkway along, in between the parking lot and the pond.
Which,
Just a snapshot of this lot. Mr. Kafori's, being able to connect that to something else is a separate issue.
wait, where are you proposing this path, on his property or Mr.
On this,
Kafori?
well, that's all we can control right now is this property, or ask to control. So we can ask that a sidewalk be constructed on this parcel at that end of the parking lot,
Right.
between the parking lot and the pond. If we ever have the ability to connect that at some other time, who knows? What happened a number of years ago when the city decided to dispose of this property, they never reserved what they had discussed as being the ability to provide a walking path along the edge of this water.
But it was something that was brought up by the owner. or
No, it
the-
was
the
never.
per-
And
The person who.
It was,
No,
Mr.
Mr. Kafori actually did mention this, because it was on, I remember reading an article very vividly, that he was looking for public access. That was one, I know, maybe it wasn't officially, it wasn't a official thing, but he did promise it. So I wanna make sure that, and trying to understand if that's still something that's gonna happen. Because I think if you put it out there and it's a written article and it's a news piece, that your intent is to go ahead and construct public access to it.
This
I don't know if he
this
really
applicant
wanted to tell you the
has
truth.
no
Well, then he
ability
should've said
to
anything.
provide that to you.
Yeah, we're getting into another.
No, but I'm just saying that back then, that neighborhood group wanted access, and the
Right.
city was supposed to write it in when they
And they
sold
didn't.
it, and
Correct.
they didn't do it. So because they left it out, it ended up not being enforceable.
I
We
mean,
we
it's,
can look at that in this project.
But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we can't provide a sidewalk here
Yeah.
in
Right.
anticipation of maybe someday being able to connect it, if not to the north, then maybe at least to the south. So we'll have that discussion and see if they're willing to
Well,
provide.
one would
that.
think the residents want something
Exactly,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
I think that was the thing. I think the
Yeah.
residents, I mean, it's, it's a nice area, and I'm sure it's only gonna get better, and I think, it should have some benefit to the community around there and to the city.
Right, and when I refer to residents, I mean the residents of the lofts. I think they would want some,
Yeah,
to walk by that.
but that was an item in my review, that
Okay.
requesting that.
Any other questions from the board? Jim?
Yeah, I was there this afternoon. I would like to go through the whole site. This has been a source of there's been a good deal of controversy over this particular site. There have been a number of misstatements. I heard a number of them, for example, at the South End neighborhood, at a South End Neighborhood Association meeting about public access. My understanding is that one place we can have public access is through that narrow strip of land, which is kind of a triangle that Conforti still owns. I would also like, this is our pond.
Yep.
I would like to see an area of walkway around this particular site. It'd be a benefit to the residents, and it might hook up. I hope that realize that we are not in the position, actually, it wasn't that the city didn't write it in, it was that the city took it out. When the master plan called for a walkway, called for a strip there, and you're right, Jim, and it was sold right to the shoreline, I think, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was wrong.
Yep.
It was wrong for the purchaser, and it was wrong for the seller. It ignored, it will benefit 100 families, it will perhaps not benefit 40,000 other families. So I hope we can look at that as carefully as possible.
I totally agree with that.
Well, Dan, you have that in
Yeah.
your notes, so we
Yeah.
do have that, so we can
Okay.
put that in
Oh,
conditions.
yeah. I have one small item that I saw today through the fence. There's a bunch of things, it's towards the, which side are we on? I always have trouble with the directions here, and there's no upriver and downriver. It's the area, when you come from Kilbourne Street, from Globe Corners, and that's that end. There's a bunch of faucets that look to me like faucets to storage tanks. I don't know, maybe they're red, do you know what I mean? Do you know
They
them?
might have been might be some type of fire apparatus.
Yeah,
I don't know what they are.
they usually fire if they're red, but
They looked to me like there might be tanks underneath.
Oh, you mean at the surface, you mean just,
At the surface, there are things you turn on and off.
there are a number of different water valves in the front of the property, a number of different water valves that service the mill at different times.
Okay, they're water, they're
Yeah.
not combustible fuel.
No, I think the only storage tank here, I think, was in the rear,
Correct.
correct? So
Correct.
I do know that the environmental consultants working on this property are going through that process now of
Okay, I'm
cleaning up whatever needs to be
concerned about
cleaned
that,
up.
not leaving a tank in there.
No, no,
I think what
no.
you're talking about was where the fire department hooked up.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
okay, those are water.
A brick
I'm
with
concerned
red
in
pipe
general.
that's normally-
Yeah.
Because a number of mills have had large tanks of oil or fluid or various things in various places. And I just wanted to check that. Because you asked about issues to look at
Right.
in a month.
Jim, I think there was a great deal of scrutiny on that site last year, year before,
Right,
so
well,
I
probably the
know,
last 5 years almost.
the last
yeah,
5
with
years, so I
DEP.
think that, I agree with you, but I think those issues have been resolved.
Yeah.
And any site remediation that needs to take place is well beyond the commission's order of conditions if they ever, choose to grant one. So there are other permitting authorities that need to review and go through this process. And environmentally, that's really the first one, and that was really the first step that the applicant took. The applicant is well-versed in dealing with mills with the city of Fall River and has been very successful.
I got that.
So, that's a good thing.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So can I have a motion to table this to the February 6th meeting?
Motion to the table?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward
Thank
to
you,
see
Al.
you next month.
Let me know when we have some revised plans, and we'll have you guys come in.
Some thought, when could we meet with either you and/or community utilities?
Before any revisions are made,
Yeah,
send me an email tomorrow.
Okay.
Let me know what your availability is. We'll
okay,
we'll
thank
get you in
you.
as soon as possible.
Just email him the proof of the advertising.
Yep,
Yes.
yeah, thank you.
All righty, next is ANRAD SE-24-812. Owner applicant is Matthew Donald and East Branch Dock LLC. Project location 0 Riggenbach Road. Census map is Z-03-0070 and 0099. Filed by NEC on behalf of Matthew Doyle, of East Branch Dock LLC to review and approve submitted wetlands from the
So commission members, I performed a site walk after reviewing the plan with the applicant's consultant. Previous to that site walk, I had additionally asked him for some data sheets throughout the entire wetland area, which he had supplied before we actually walked it out. So I walked it by myself first, had some questions about an area that I felt that the applicant had missed, or their consultant had missed with flagging. So we walked the site last Thursday or Friday. The consultant agrees. He has reflagged this area that was missed. It's over behind a detention pond that was built as part of the Innovation Way project, but it's fairly substantial. So they've asked that the matter be tabled so that they could have the new line surveyed, put on a plan, and submitted back to us. The remainder of the site, this site has been flagged multiple times. It's fairly consistent with what the previous flagging was. This sits east of the bottom of the landfill, just north of Airport Road, maybe 800,000 feet of Airport Road. But it's a big piece of land, probably, I don't know, maybe 40-ish acres, plus or minus the two different parcels. So it was that, I'd like to say that I took credit for something groundbreaking, but I didn't. This wetland area showed up on previous filings, and it was just something that was missed by the applicant, so.
Okay.
We did walk it, and they have added it, and we assume to get revised plans in soon.
Okay. Board have any questions? Can I have a motion to table February 8th?
Motion to
Meet
table.
February 6th?
Motion to table.
Sarah, you didn't have any questions, did you? Just listening?
No, just listening.
Okay. Okay, roll call vote?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the second on that?
I was first.
Correct. Okay. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-754. Owner applicant is James Karam of RJK Partnership, Inc. Project location is Augustus Street. Assessor's map is 1-26-0012, filed by Prime Engineering on behalf of applicant requesting a certificate of compliance.
So commission members, you'll see on the request for the certificate of compliance, no work had ever been started on the project and none completed. So they're not asking for a certificate of compliance that the work was done. It's that the work was not done, and so then the box that they check means the permit will be null and void moving forward. So that's all they're asking for at this point. So I don't have a copy of it in front of me, but if you look at the box that they check, just make sure that you're, let me see where- So you see the above referenced order of conditions has lapsed and is therefore no longer valid. The work regulated was never started.
Okay.
So we'd be approving this COC in order to null this, is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve COC.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Roll call vote?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Just so that you know, what would happen is this would show up against the title of the land forever until this gets resolved and recorded at the registry. So if they wanted to sell it, refinance, do anything, just like any permit that you guys issue, an order of conditions and enforcement action, if it's not closed out legally, that will show open-ended, and that would stop any transaction from happening.
Okay. All righty, moving on. Discussion on SE-24-738, 101 Hayfield Lane. Last action taken was we sent out a cease and desist letter.
So I spoke with the owner multiple times. There's a little bit of a language barrier, but we've kind of gotten through it. I did speak with his consultant who was putting together a revised notice of intent. This was somebody that built a patio. It's the original phase of Highland Farms. Did some patio work behind his house and probably pushed the limit a little bit too much. So I would say table it, give them 30 days to put the new filing in. If not, then we can issue a formal enforcement
So
action.
keep the enforcement order still intact and,
Well, there is no enforcement order yet.
okay, just
We
cease.
sent out a letter telling
Okay.
them to stop the work and to file.
All right,
So you're giving them the time to file.
okay.
But again, at some point in time, it's up for you to decide, has that time been extended too long? And then you can send out an enforcement.
How long has it been extended at this point?
They just got them at the letter just prior to the last meeting, so it's been just a little bit over 30 days.
Yeah.
But again, by the time by the time someone hires a consultant or calls around and gets
It's
it takes
been
time.
2-3 months
You know,
to-
It takes time.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's understandable.
All right, so can I have a motion to table this to February 6th?
Motion to table?
Second?
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Okay. Let's see. We have a receipt of correspondence from National Grid yearly operational plan. Can I have a motion to put on file?
Motion to file and put on file?
Second?
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes from December 5th meeting?
So moved?
Second?
Okay, roll call
Aye.
vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
No citizen input? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.